Hey there, I am Drew Wash, and this is just an impromptu get together. I am the domain development guy. What the heck does that mean? Isn't all web design, development, isn't it all on domain names? Yes, except for as a domain development guy, I'm specifically looking to build businesses, build websites based on the actual domain name. What the heck does that look like? Well, if you look at some of the stuff I've done with my company, you'll find that looks like taking a domain name like towing.com and sharing it with towing companies. Same with DJs.com, photobooths.com. Basically, you take the domain name. What picture does that domain name paint for you? Well, then you just go and paint that picture. So that is what I mean by domain development specifically. Do a live stream every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which we will do some of the things that we do on that live stream. Look through some expiring domain names. Expiring domain names being domain names that maybe a month ago you would have never had a shot at getting. Somebody had it, they owned it, they registered it, and through the expiring domain process, it's kind of like a home foreclosure or something. They're not renewing it. They're not paying for it anymore. So it's going to come available again. So what does that process look like? It starts to go, the site falls off, the DNS all sets up as pending delete, and then it goes up for auction where people like me and other domain name investors will bid on that domain name, and the winner takes all. The winner gets the ownership of that domain name. So that has happened on numerous occasions. I've spent I need to do the calculation, but it's well over $1 million buying domain names at expired auctions. So I've spent a lot of money, made a lot of money buying, selling domain names, although developing is by far the most lucrative. So, okay, well, why am I doing this stream? To be quite honest, I am playing with the new setup. You may be able to tell if you watch on Mondays. So this is a little bit of a setup, and I didn't want to wait till the live stream on Monday to play with it. So in order to see how it goes, here we are. So, well, what we will do, we'll spend a little time over here. This is expireddomains.net, which if you follow along at all, you know how much I love expireddomains.net, and you should love it too if you have any interest in domain names. So expireddomains.net is a free website, get a free account, and it pulls together all kinds, millions of domain names that are being deleted, that are available, that are on aftermarkets all over the web. They pull them all together and put them in one place. So now all you have to do is learn how to filter, learn how to search, learn what a good domain name is. And through this one website, you can, well, have access to a lot of great domain names. And we'll talk about some of the ones that are actually showing up. In fact, right here behind me or in this list, you can actually see some of the domain names that are the top bid receiving domain names currently. 801.com is at $251,000. 801 is at $251,000. In fact, that's worthy of a click. We'll get that up on the screen. Not my kind of domain name. There you go. Over on GoDaddy, expiring auctions. So, wow. I mean, it's a nice, short, clean domain name. I bought DJs.com, so DJS.com, DJs.com for $130,000. I think I'd rather own DJs.com. So, but anyhow, why is that going for so much? Well, it's a short number domain name. We don't know who is bidding that much, but well, actually, if you go over here, you can see there's several people in on the bidding. So bidder number 18, bidder number 7, both up over $250,000. You got bidder 19, bidder 8, lots of bidders basically in over the 200,000 mark. So That is pretty crazy. That doesn't show up very often. It doesn't show up very often on our Monday show, because what are you going to do with 801? What picture does the domain name 801.com paint in your head? And because because I'm English primarily speaking, and it doesn't fit anything that I typically do. So basically 801 is not going to be my kind of domain name, but might be yours. And yes, but this is live, man. This is test. Yeah. Watch it, Chaz. Dance party game night later on. So let's see here. You're watching on Restream. This is just an impromptu name, no specific stuff. If you have questions or things in the chat, let me know. We can chat about them. But for the most part, I kind of want to test a little bit of a new setup that I have going on. In fact, I have the way this is going to be able to work is, if I actually had it ready to go, I'm going to have it set up. Remember this thing? Remember when the camera, I had the moving camera going? Yeah. So I'm working on some camera setup, getting it back to the way it used to be, and eventually that will happen. And so just a little more work to do, but at least for Monday's setup, this right there is going to do the trick, I figure. Okay, so let's go to look at some domain names. I don't know how long I'll be on here. I just figured, it's been a while since I've done an impromptu one, and every week I end up, every week I kind of mention, like, hey, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and if I go live, you'll be notified. So, well, let me head on back over to expireddomains.net. We see some of the domain names. So right now, you'll see I have no filter set up. So we're seeing 433,000 domain names expiring currently in the GoDaddy inventory. That number fluctuates. Typically on Mondays, we filter out the domain names and get them down to just the absolute best domain names. What I'm doing right now is over behind me, I have it set up to where it is going to, it's ordered by price. So the top bidding domains, the domain names that people are currently saying, I will pay this for that domain name, those are the ones that are on top. So you see 801.com, $251,000, DZB as in boy.com, $19,000, kateupton.com, makes sense maybe, over $10,000. Visual Teaching Alliance, based on some of these numbers you can see in this column here, you'll see that that is probably based on SEO. In fact, I think we just saw visuallearning.com come up for auction just recently as well. Some 4-digit domain names. So my understanding, so let me pass this a little bit on to you. I don't deal in digit domain names. If you do, feel free to mention in the chat what you know about them. But from what I understand, digit domain names, so 3-digit, 4-digit domains, go for so much money because of a lot of the Mandarin and Southeast Asian languages. Numbers are easier to more memorable than maybe their characters would be in a domain name, is what I understand. So the buyers of those domain names typically are not buying them for the reasons I would as a primary English speaker. Instead, they're buying them because instead of having a bunch of characters or words that they have, instead they just use the digits. So no expertise in that really, other than what I've heard in the domain name community. I don't own any, don't plan on buying any, except for the main reason I don't plan on buying any is, look at this, 4538.com, 4 numbers, $6,000. And if you don't have something to do with that domain name, chances are you're not going to want to buy it. 0166. So you'll see the top domain names that are listed for sale, the highest prices right now, including 801.com, 3 numbers for $251,000. Those are all going for big money. So those are some of the top domain names. Perfectdays.com. Now you're starting to get a little more into what I typically deal with. We'll see this one probably on Monday. But perfectdays.com, those are the kinds of domain names that we typically talk about on Domain to Profit, are the ones that, what does Perfect Days sound like? I don't know. Probably wouldn't make the show, but words. Top Bike, there you go. How about Top Bike? You know, what kind of picture does topbike.com paint in your head? Maybe it's motorcycles, maybe it's two-pedal bikes, whatever it is. Topbike.com could be a site that lists and ranks the top bikes. So that's kind of domain name that we would look for most often. Let's look at some of the most top valuation domain names here. And if you have any questions or anything, toss them into the chat. And as long as it's, I believe, on YouTube, the primary channel, that will make it to me and I'll be able to see and answer, talk about those. Let's see here. Quite a bit, draw.co. I'm not much of a .co guy, but that's a pretty good domain name. Leadcapture.com. I don't know if that one will actually end up in auction, but that ends in 9 days. I'm guessing that one's going to show up on Domain to Profit over the next few weeks. Well, next week at least. Content Shop, that sounds like a pretty good one as well. So Content Shop, again, what picture does it paint in your head? What's happening when you hear contentshop.com? Well, I imagine it's a place that you would hire content creators, maybe license their content, something, or maybe you are a content creator and you're looking for something to set yourself apart, maybe a brand. Hey, we're the Content Shop. Come to us when you need content. We put you in touch to make it happen. Whatever, something like that. But a picture in my brain is painted when I hear contentshop.com. And as somebody looking to bid on or buy a domain name, those are the kind of domain names I'm looking for. Domain names that paint that picture. And then I think, okay, would the picture, if I create that, if I create what it is that I see there, would it, how much money would it make? What difficulty would it take to create that, to start a business that does that? If you wanted to just help people get in contact with content shops or content creators, you're talking about a database and maybe you categorize them into specialties, video creators, photo creators, blogs, whatever kind of creator there might be out there. Put them in a directory, and then contentshop.com could just be where people go to build out their content team. That's exactly the kind of thing we do on Domain to Profit. It's what I do as a domain buyer, is paint that picture in my head. What could it be? What would it take to create that site? And how much revenue can I make? That helps me generate a price in my head as to what that domain name would be worth. Make sense? Make sense? Okay, and let's see here. And yeah, Fred, I'm going a little bit on the just a free impromptu session, mostly because of this right here. Tasha over on LinkedIn is mentioning that the screen is big, but the font is too small for us to read, and that's is exactly what I'm looking to hear. I'm trying to figure out how I can adjust things. I will say that typically on a Monday show, I try to zoom in on the domain names as I do it. Hopefully you find that is a little more visible on your screen, but you know, it does the trick. So I usually zoom in, make it a little larger when I'm doing the live streams. I just have to remember to do that this week as well. But lead capture is what we were talking about, and then we moved on to contentshop.com. So let's just click on that domain name. So typically, Content Shop would be something I would call a brandable domain name. Brandable domain name because it doesn't really have a topic associated with it. It is more of a domain name that is, what is a content shop? Well, literally, I guess it's I don't know, a place you buy content. But what we do is if that domain name or that topic requires you to define what it is, In those cases, it's a brandable. It's kind of like, what is a Google? Google defined what google.com was. They defined what it was. They set it up and developed a brand on it. That's a brandable domain name. And when I think Content Shop, I think of that pretty much as a brandable. You can do about anything with it. In our case, we talked about that content creator directory. Let's see here, Content Shop. So what I've done is I'm over here on spyfoo.com. Spyfoo.com is a website I subscribe to. You can use it for free as well. There's some free stuff. You just won't see as much data as what I'll be able to show you here with the paid subscription on SpyFoo. So what I do with this is I drop the .com, drop from the domain name, all keywords, in this case, Content Shop. And when I type them into SpyFoo, it's going to analyze those keywords for me. And you'll see there's 44 people searching. More specifically, there are 44 clicks available through Google. So there's people looking for this. There's people typing in Content Shop. A lot of times what I will do also is come in and do a Control F in my browser. And with the Control F, I can highlight all the times that the exact keywords show up. Because remember, in this case, we're not just like doing search engine optimization. This isn't just an SEO thing. We want to find out how often our domain name, the keywords in our domain name, actually appear and are used in day-to-day life. That's part of what the value of our domain name comes from. Resident Evil Village Extra Content Shop. Basically, the searches for Content Shop appear to be not really anything major. In fact, over here, you can see that there's nobody paying to advertise, there's no advertisers, and there's also no money being spent. There's cost per click is 0. And when we look at domain names that I like to focus on, I focus on domain names that have advertisers, have a cost per click. Ideally, we want to see cost per click at $2 or higher, and we want to see the number of advertisers at 10 or higher. Those are the perfect domain names because not only will they paint a picture of what should be on that domain name, there's a market already established around it. People are paying and there's competition to reach that keyword, which could make your life a lot better if you're trying to benefit from it. So, makes sense. And Tasha, I'm glad I got it set up for you. I see that it seems that the zooming in is better. And we try to zoom in. I try to use Zoom as much as possible. Someday I'll get even fancier with it, but it works for now. So there's Content Shop. On a Monday, we look through several hundred domain names, the top .com expiring domain names that are happening that week. 3 p.m. We look at that week's expiring domain names. So each week, it's a new series of domain names, new series of opportunities, and I think it's pretty fun. Great community that happens. So let's go over to one of the things I thought about doing. Let me click over onto Twitter here. I want to see if anybody asks any questions or anything I need to consider. This is kind of how I try to do it. Okay, so one of the things that I try to do on Domain to Profit and that I do with my business. So I run a company that essentially, does exactly what I show you how to do on Domain to Profit. We come in. Let me show you movingsites.com. Although the website's nothing special, but I'll show it to you. What the heck? So what we do with Moving Sites is we develop premium domain names. So this is where we take sites like dj.com, photoboost.com. We got bodyguards there, helicopter rides, movingcompany.com, and many others coming up, including these here, bartenders.com, tourguides.com, wedding. Basically, you can see how these paint a picture in your head. They're quite literal, right? These are literal domain names. So this is exactly what we do. We look for specifically literal domain names, domains that we can take and turn into a business that shares a great domain name with that industry. We're sharing great domain names with an industry. This is something that goes beyond the idea of business. This is actually like a life mission of mine, and that is to help small businesses, specifically to give small businesses a way to compete against the big guys that are just throttling the small guy. And it's my thought, maybe right, maybe wrong. It's my thought that domain names, when developed, they are the only way that exists out there right now that can compete with Google. And, basically, the internet was created, and we had all these web addresses that were the paths that we could all take to websites. And the domain names, towing.com, for example, or any number of different keyword-based domain names, what we're supposed to be on those, who knows? A bunch of early domain name investors bought them up, and they've since continued to sell them. And because the domain name didn't represent the content, so when you type in a domain name, instead of getting content related to that topic, we were hit with ads, we're hit with for sale pages, we're hit with stuff that just doesn't really matter to the actual domain name. Because of that, consumers, of course, learned that they needed a way to find what they're looking for. Google decided, rightfully so, that, hey, they're going to organize the world's internet and create a way to search all the web pages. So over time, the problem that we've created is, instead of people typing in web domain names and using those to get to the most relevant website, people just Google everything. So now it's not even about a great domain name, about a great website. It's about ranking on Google. In fact, I was just talking a little bit about this on Twitter. If you follow my crazy on Twitter, I shared with this idea here, which is just a tweet that basically there's a whole community of people that will spend lots and lots of money on domain names that rank well in Google, that have some Google juice. And there's also entire communities of people, the search engine optimization community, which I used to be part of. They watch what Google does and adjust everything they do based on Google. What does that really, how does that impact you? Well, I just was tweeting out today. It's like, hey, this is the state of the internet. All this brain power, all these really smart, talented people are spending all this time reverse engineering Google to game Google. Where if we would have just stuck to what it was that the internet was supposed to be, a domain name being a path to a topic, a domain name representing the path to the small businesses and the information related to that domain name, we would have had, instead of people trying to decipher and figure out how to rank stuff on Google that is just, it's created literally for Google, not for you, not for me. It's like they have artificial intelligence, AI stuff that will write content for the purpose of ranking in Google. Do you have any idea how insane that is? That's a needed product? Like, they're not writing for you, they're writing for an algorithm, which is just like the insanity that the world is experiencing. So my thought is, if we develop domain names and put on those domain names, we create the picture that the domain name paints, voila. Well, there's no voila. It's a long process. But if we can do this, we can actually be the ones that strike the blows to Google and create a better world through people being able to type in a domain name and get to the relevant content, thereby helping small businesses. Because instead of paying Google per click, per call, per order to advertise, essentially handing over a percentage of small business revenue to big business Google, Now, instead, they can just join as a member of a website, a member of a web domain name, and help make that site great without having to share part of their business. And as a domain owner and website creator, I make my money by fostering that community and providing the tools. Make sense? Makes sense. So I think this is an opportunity at world change that that domain name owners have. If you have a great domain name, development isn't just about making money. It truly is about world change. We can do some good while at the same time make money. Like, isn't that what it's all about? Like, we can do good, and instead of our efforts being to rank in Google and to decode Google, we're actually putting our efforts into serving the visitors and the small businesses that are on our websites. Like, ah, man, yeah, amazed too. And that's the thing is, like, you know, we see these. I miss a lot of those days, but realistically, those days are what led to these days, right? Like, we've went off on a tangent to where what we did back then led to the current results we're having, and so I miss the opportunities that there were, but I believe that these days that we're living and the opportunities to create right now are going to determine what the future looks like. So it's big future altering, society altering stuff, in my opinion. I mean, it's a mission worth living for as far as I'm concerned, which is what I'm out to do. So isn't that crazy how just like a domain name could be like something that some crazy guy on the internet, this Drew Wash guy, like, he actually thinks domain names can change the world and set a direction for humanity? Like, yeah, actually I do. I think that we've missed an opportunity. We weren't ready for it in the past. And you might think, oh, Drew, it's impossible. That's not the way the world is or is going to be. And I'm just here to tell you that, yeah, if we don't do it, it's certainly not going to be that way. But I'm willing to be the guy that says, hey, I want to give small businesses a path to a better future that doesn't involve handing over a percentage of their income to big business. I mean, isn't that worthy? I think it's worthy. Okay. So let's head on back over. I'll spend a little more time here. I like I said, I was mostly wanting to check out the green screen setup that I have and see how the current room works for the Monday stream, which it seems to be working pretty well, which is good. So what do you think? Off to the side, big head, Drew. I think it works. Okay, well, I'm going to go over. One of the things that Matt, who watches the show and is with us most Mondays, he mentioned, hey, how about you go over to Reddit and you look at some of the domain names that people are have listed for sale, and you critique some of those domain names. And I'm like, that sounds kind of crazy, but hey, maybe that is something that is a good idea. So now we're over on Reddit. I'm just under the domains thing. If you've never been on Reddit, it is a community of whatever. That's the beauty of Reddit. You can choose a topic and create a community. And right now, I am in the domains community. So a lot of people post, as you can see here, with what do they call those? Anyhow, can't remember. They're not labels. They are labels, but I'm failing at Reddit. So just going to page down here. Let's see if we find anything. Lifetime Black, minimum offer $90. I don't think I'd hand register that one. emailresponders.com. Emailresponders.com? That seems like a pretty good domain name. Let's go check it out. For $99, I might be buying that domain name if it's not already sold. Live here on Impromptu Friday Domain to Profit. So let's see, email responders. So typically we would call it an autoresponder. 40 people searching for it, how to reach a rejected email. Okay, advertisers 12. So over here, you'll see autoresponder is actually what most people would call them. Let's see. Careful clicking links. Just for the record, if you click a link, always, of course, make sure the domain name and things are correct up in the corner. Oh, yeah, sure enough. Email responders. I'm not sure who Crowning Domains is, but I'm going to buy your domain name, man. I'm not sure if I can do this. I'll have to do this without sharing the screen because I don't want to show my credit card online. Makes sense, right? So who's going to beat me? Is somebody going to beat me to this? What do you think? So my thought with or email responders, it's kind of just a basic domain name. I like it as far as it's cheap. That's what I like about it. It's cheap. Oh my goodness, this is a really long form. I'm gonna buy your domain. And unfortunately, I don't, if anybody from Dan ever sees this, one of the things that drives me nuts about Dan is I can't just log in and have it go to my account, which it would be nice if it just auto-filled everything in based on my account because I buy numerous domain names from Dan. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I can share out. Well, I won't quite yet. So I'm looking at emailresponders.com, $99. Going to be getting a card or so out of my wallet. I'm not sharing this out currently because, well, I don't want you to see my credit card information. Hope that makes sense. I like you, but I don't like you like, here's my credit card number like you. Oh, man. Now, one thing I will say about the room as of right now is I get a lot larger of an echo in here. Dan doesn't take American Express? Oh, they take PayPal. There we go. That works. I'll just do PayPal. So here I am. I'm reviewing some of the domain names over on Reddit. And one of the domain names I saw over on Reddit is a name that I actually like. It is emailresponder.com. So I'm in the process of buying that from Dan, which Dan recently purchased by GoDaddy. They do a pretty good job on a domain marketplace. Hopefully that remains the case now that they've sold to GoDaddy. Currently in the process of signing into PayPal, making this happen. And I don't want to get into security things, so I'm not sharing my screen as of. Okay, let's see here. Complete purchase. Completing purchase. Estimated domain delivery. Your payment was processed successfully. Yes, it was. Okay, so I believe I can share this out again. So here we go. Dan.com went through the process of purchasing And now their system is going to take that domain name and handle all the domain name transfer, all the magic behind the scenes. So there you go. Didn't expect to actually find one. So emailresponders.com, $99 is what I just bought. And you'll find that over on, I found that on Reddit. So it's for sale now, $900. It's kind of how an investment works, right? Realistically, I'll probably not develop that domain name for a really long time. Support CRM, I don't not like it, but I don't like it. I certainly wouldn't buy it for $1,000. But hey, feller on the farm, bought your domain, dude. Yay, awesome. Yeah, that is, I mean, what a great, like, what domain name? Like, this is all that needs to happen for domain investing. Like, is finding a domain name that you can see some beauty. Those numbers, through SPY fooding, those costs per clicks and so on, I didn't expect to find that. So, yeah, Dominic, it's Friday. I always threaten doing impromptu shows, and today I get to do it. So, okay. Let's see what else we find over on. So we're just kind of out in the wild looking for domain names currently. Most of these, like even for $40, I wouldn't mess with that domain name, whatever that is. Join call X. Difference.biz. I mean, this is one of those. So part of why I am only a .com guy. I probably have 20 or less domain names. Actually, that's not true. I do own some .app domains. I have 50 or less domain names and other extensions out of 1,000. Everything else is .com. A lot of the reason I do that is because I like difference.com, amazing domain name, really worth a lot of money. But .biz, like now you get into these alternative brands. .com is assumed. .biz, now I have to make a judgment call. Is .biz worth anything? Do people like .biz? What's the renewals on it? How does it work? There's a whole big learning curve for all the non.com extensions. And to be quite honest, I'm pretty lazy. And I think most customers are lazy too. That's kind of one of those things you got to always remember as you debate different extensions and things is as lazy as you are, others are that lazy also. They don't want to worry about whether they're getting scammed. So just stick it with .com, right? That's part of what's going on. And do you really want to get in the business of having to train somebody that a new extension is okay and so on? I do not. That's not my game. So they all function the same way. They all work as a domain name, but yeah. Some .eth domain names, again, they don't even function as a domain name. They function as a domain name would on the blockchain. So it's a completely different system altogether. We'll see what happens in the future. So I will mention on the .eth, on the .biz, everybody that's out there advocating for those, what they're advocating for is an opportunity to relive the .com boom. That's realistically what it is we're all hoping that lightning strikes twice. And the fact of the matter is, even if it did, I don't want to run around with a pole my entire life, run around with a metal pole, hoping that I catch lightning, because you may never catch lightning. But if you instead learn how to build a motor that can create electricity, that is something you can accomplish, and it requires no luck. It doesn't require lightning to strike. Most people just spend way too much time trying to figure out how to build a better lightning rod, so that way they just build the skills and make your own luck. Retire to relax. I don't ever plan on retiring, so not interested. Streaming.tools, that seems like a tolerable hack type domain name. Streaming tools seems reasonable. I didn't even know tools was an extension. Again, I don't know these things. I like that as far as an extension, though. I'm sure there's quite a few domain names that could be worth a darn on that. Meta Multiverse, $15 million? Is that what it says? I'm good. Like this is one of those opportunities. So metamultiverse.com, $15 million. Like, what? $15 million? Like, there's no version of that somebody's going to give you $15 million. Like, I'm a pretty creative guy. I can come up with businesses and little hacks and all kinds of different things, but $15 million? This is somebody with a really weak-ass lightning rod, and they're standing out in the middle of the desert, and it's not raining. There is not a cloud in the sky. They're just melting under the sun, like one of those wax figures in the old Indiana Jones movies when they effects. Like, that's all that's happening to this person. They're not going to sell for $15 million. Just imagine if that was a great domain name that should have something on it. In that case, it would be wasted. Just be wasted. Just be sitting there waiting for somebody to be somebody's light on. Okay. Well, there we go. We looked at some Reddit stuff. We're back a couple weeks as of this point. Not really my thing. We might come back to Reddit. So let's see here. Drew tested his screen out. Seems to work pretty well. Going to have this for Monday. We talked a little bit about contentshop.com and developing domain names and the idea that a domain name could paint a picture. We talked why domain names matter, especially to me, and why they should matter to everybody out there with a great domain name, why developing it is so important, because it's our opportunity. It's the little guy's opportunity to share that domain name with a bunch of small businesses, make our money as domain investors ongoing, but then also pick on Google a little bit, poke them with a needle. May not actually hurt them, but we can have some control. We can frustrate them at least. Talked about that a little bit. Content Shop. And then we showed around SpyFu. So there we go. Oh, and then over on Reddit, did some Reddit reviews, just some quick domain names from the last couple of weeks, and ended up buying email responders? I don't know. I buy so many stinking domain names. Let's see, where was that? Keep going up. And for anybody that's out there kind of thinking, oh yeah, I bought emailresponders.com for $99 over on Dan. So I'm pretty happy with that domain name as well. So for anybody that's thinking like, hey, Drew checks Reddit domains, that's a good place to post them. Not true. I really seldom check domain names over on Reddit. So you're better just to DM me. Actually, just tweet at me. Don't DM me. Okay. Makes sense. So I think with that said, anybody got anything in the chat? No new questions other than the silliness. I love it. I love it. So in that case, 45 minutes in, screen working, Drew ranting, I'm going to be letting you go. I hope that I will see you, though, Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we do Domain to Profit, which is where we look to expiring domain names and talk about the best ones for development, the ones that paint a picture that we can put a business up on and have create a better future for us and for the world. We're going to be doing that Monday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like we do each week, domaintoprofit.com. But subscribe and like this video if you do enjoy these impromptu ones. It lets me know that, hey, maybe I should press go again, press live more often. So thanks for joining me. I will see you Monday.